Wait, put down that bread you're about to use for your sandwich and listen to me right now. 12 of the biggest bread brands in the UK are filling their loaves with chemicals that shouldn't be anywhere near your body. We're talking about additives banned in other countries, preservatives linked to serious health problems, and ingredients you can't even pronounce, let alone digest properly. And the worst part? You've been trusting these brands for years. They're in your kitchen right now. Your kids are eating them for breakfast. You're making your lunches with them every single day, completely unaware of what's actually going into your body. In the next 20 minutes, I'm exposing all 12 brands you need to stop buying immediately, what's really inside them, and the healthier alternatives that won't cost you a fortune like other healthy options. Number 2 is going to absolutely shock you because it markets itself as the healthy option, but it's one of the worst on this entire list. As a bonus for sticking to the end of the video, we're also going to show you exactly how to spot bad bread brands yourself by reading the labels, so you'll never get tricked again. Let's get into it. Number 12, Super Loaf. Let's start with one that's going to surprise a lot of you. Super Loaf. You've probably seen it on the shelves with its bright, health-focused packaging, screaming about gut health and fiber. It's marketed as the bread that's good for you, the one that'll sort out your digestion and make you feel amazing. The whole brand is built around being a healthier option. The problem here is that it's made by Hovis using the Chorleywood bread process. If you don't know what that is, it's a high-speed industrial method that churns out bread in a fraction of the time traditional baking takes. Instead of letting dough ferment naturally and develop flavor, they blast it with additives, mix it at crazy speeds, and pump it full of extra yeast. The result is simple: bread that's ready in under 3 hours instead of the natural 12 to 24 hours proper bread needs. This process strips away most of the nutritional benefits and replaces them with chemicals to make up for the shortcuts. You know that bloated, heavy feeling you get after eating a sandwich where your stomach just feels off for hours, like you're carrying a brick around in your gut and you can't quite figure out why a simple lunch has made you feel so sluggish. That's what ultra-processed bread does to your body. It's not real food. It's engineered food designed for shelf life and profit margins, not your health. The irony is quite painful because they're selling you the idea of better health while using one of the most artificial bread-making processes in the industry. Slap gut health and fiber on the packaging. Charge a premium price and watch people buy it, thinking they're doing something good for themselves. Number 11, Genius gluten-free. If you're gluten intolerant or have celiac disease, Genius probably feels like a lifesaver. Finally, bread you can actually eat without getting sick. The packaging is clean, the marketing is reassuring, and it's in every major supermarket. Problem solved, right? Not quite. The issue here is that Genius is absolutely loaded with ultra-processed ingredients and additives to make up for the lack of gluten. We're talking about a long list of stabilizers, emulsifiers, thickeners, and artificial additions that have nothing to do with real bread. They've removed gluten but replaced it with a chemical cocktail designed to mimic the texture and shelf life of normal bread. Being gluten-free doesn't automatically mean healthy. Genius has turned what should be simple bread into a science experiment, and your body knows it. You know that weird gummy texture some gluten-free bread has? Like it sticks to the roof of your mouth and feels more like paste than actual bread. That's because it's not real bread. It's engineered food pretending to be bread. Genius might be convenient, but convenience shouldn't mean compromising on what's actually going into your body. There are better options that respect your health, not just your dietary restriction. Number 10, Jason's Sourdough. This brand exploded in popularity over the past few years with its trendy packaging and premium positioning. Walk into any Waitrose or Tesco and you'll see it front and center, marketed as proper artisan sourdough made the right way, and on the label it proudly claims no added preservatives. Sounds perfect, doesn't it? Real sourdough, no nasty chemicals, just honest bread. The problem here is what they're not telling you. Jason's lists fermented wheat flour in their ingredients. Now that sounds natural and harmless, maybe even beneficial, but fermented wheat flour isn't just a sourdough starter. It's flour that's been treated with specific bacteria to generate propionic acid, which acts as a preservative to extend shelf life and inhibit mold growth. So technically, they're right. They haven't added preservatives. They've just used an ingredient that functions as a preservative but doesn't have to be called one on the label. It's a clever legal loophole that lets them make clean label claims while still using preservation methods. You know, that slightly sour chemical aftertaste you sometimes get with commercial sourdough that real sourdough never has, or how it stays soft for over a week when genuine sourdough goes stale in 2 or 3 days. That's the fermented wheat flour doing its job, keeping the bread shelf stable far longer than nature intended. Number 9. Bergen. Walk into any gym changing room and you'll probably overhear someone talking about their protein intake, their macros, their healthy lunch prep, and chances are Bergen's in their shopping bag. It's become the go-to bread for anyone trying to eat better. Packed with soya and linseed, high in protein, omega-3 enriched. The packaging screams nutrition and wellness. Finally, bread that's actually good for you, right? Wrong. Despite all the healthy marketing, Bergen is owned by Allied Bakeries and made using the same ultra-processed methods as their other brands. It's loaded with preservatives like calcium propionate and emulsifiers like E472E. The soya and seeds are just window dressing to distract you from the fact that it's still mass-produced industrial bread. The nutritional additions don't cancel out the chemicals. You're still eating a loaf that's been engineered for maximum shelf life, not maximum health benefits. You know that dense, heavy feeling some healthy breads give you? Like you've eaten something that's supposed to be good for you, but your stomach feels weighed down and uncomfortable. That's because the base is still rubbish. Adding protein and omega-3 to ultra-processed bread doesn't suddenly make it clean food. Number 8. Robert's Bakery. You've probably never given Robert's Bakery much thought. It's just there on the shelf, not as flashy as Warburton's, or not as premium as some of the artisan brands, just a solid middle-of-the-road option that seems harmless enough. And that's exactly how they want you to see it. Unremarkable, safe, the kind of bread you grab without thinking twice because it's reasonably priced and it does the job. The problem is that Robert's is yet another mass-produced brand churning out ultra-processed loaves with the usual lineup of preservatives and additives, calcium propionate to stop mold, emulsifiers to keep it soft, all the standard chemicals designed to make bread last longer on shelves and in your cupboard than any real bread ever should. There's nothing special here, it's just more of the same industrial nonsense dressed up as everyday bread. You know how some bread just tastes like nothing? Like you're eating fluffy air that's been shaped into slices? No real flavour, no substance, just something to hold your sandwich filling together. That's what happens when bread is made for convenience instead of quality. Your body processes it like it's barely food at all. Robert's might seem like a safe, boring choice, but boring doesn't mean better. It's still the same ultra-processed rubbish as the rest, just without the marketing budget to make you think otherwise. Number 7. Jackson's of Yorkshire. There's something about regional brands that makes us trust them more, isn't there? Jackson's of Yorkshire sounds proper, traditional, like it's been baked by honest Yorkshire folk using time-honoured methods passed down through generations. That's the image they're selling you anyway. The reality is far less romantic. Jackson's uses fermented wheat flour in their products, which, as we've already covered, is a sneaky way to include a preservative without technically calling it one. It's the same legal loophole that lets brands claim clean labels while still using ingredients specifically designed to extend shelf life and inhibit mold growth. So while Jackson's might trade on its regional heritage and traditional image, the methods are just as industrial and chemical reliant as any other mass-produced brand. Yorkshire Pride doesn't make the preservatives any less present. You know that dry, slightly plasticky texture some regional brands have? Like the bread looks homemade but feels manufactured when you actually bite into it? Or how it stays unnaturally soft for days on end when real bread would have gone stale by day 3. That's the fermented wheat flour working its magic, keeping everything shelf-stable while the packaging convinces you it's authentic. Number 6. Sun-blessed. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, Sun-blessed probably brings back memories. It was the classic white sliced bread that turned up at every kid's birthday party, every school-packed lunch, every family picnic. Nostalgic, comforting, familiar. And some people still buy it today purely out of habit because it's what they've always known. The truth is that Sun-blessed is owned by Allied Bakeries, the same company behind Kingsmill and Allinson's, and it's made using identical mass production methods. Preservatives, emulsifiers, the Chorleywood process, all the usual suspects designed to pump out cheap bread at industrial scale with maximum shelf life. There's nothing special about it except the memories you've attached to it. The bread itself is just another ultra-processed loaf engineered for profit, not nutrition. You know that spongy, squeezable texture that bounces right back when you press it? Like the bread never actually goes stale, it just slowly transforms into something vaguely rubbery that still somehow counts as edible. That's not a sign of freshness. That's chemicals keeping the structure intact long past the point where real bread would have hardened or gone off. Before we get into number 5, I need to say something. How many loaves of bread have you bought in your life thinking they were decent, maybe even healthy, only to find out they're packed with chemicals you can't pronounce? That's exactly why I'm making this video. If you've been trusting these brands because they're everywhere or because the packaging looks trustworthy, stick around. The next 5 are going to shock you even more than the first 7. And if you know someone who's still buying Warburtons or Hovies every week without knowing what's actually in them, share this with them. Their gut will thank you. Right, let's get back to it. Number 5. Mother's Pride. The name alone is designed to make you feel warm and fuzzy. Mother's Pride. It sounds wholesome, doesn't it? Like something your gran would have baked with love and care, the kind of bread that represents good old-fashioned values and family meals around the table. Except it's owned by Premier Foods, the same company behind Hovis, and it's made with exactly the same industrial methods. Calcium propionate preservatives, emulsifiers, ultra-processed ingredients, the whole lot. There's nothing motherly or prideful about what's actually inside the bag. It's just another mass-produced loaf with a name that tugs at your heartstrings while filling your body with chemicals. You know that weird, sweet aftertaste some white bread has? Like there's sugar coating your tongue even though you just ate a plain slice? That's what happens when bread is engineered for shelf life and profit instead of actual nutrition. Your body barely recognizes it as real food. Number 4. Allinson's. Allinson's positions itself as the slightly more premium, slightly more wholesome option. The packaging looks earthy and natural, the branding suggests quality, and it sits just a few pence higher than the cheapest options, making you think you're getting something better. Well, you're not. Allinson's is owned by Allied Bakeries, the industrial giant behind Kingsmill and Sun-blessed, and it uses fermented wheat flour as a preservative while marketing itself as a better choice. They've admitted publicly that they use it for flavor and to help the loaf remain fresh for as long as possible. Translation: it's a preservative they don't have. To call a preservative on the label, the whole brand is built on making you think you're upgrading when you're really just paying slightly more for the same ultra-processed rubbish. You know, when you buy bread thinking it's going to be better quality because it costs a bit more and then it tastes exactly the same as the cheap stuff? That flat, unremarkable flavor that makes you wonder why you bothered spending extra. That's Allinson's in a nutshell. You're paying for the illusion of quality, not actual quality. Number 3, Kingsmill. I can already hear some of you defending this one. But Kingsmill's everywhere, everyone buys it, it can't be that bad. And you're right, it is everywhere. 80% of British households have bought it at some point. That's exactly why we need to talk about it. Kingsmill is one of the worst offenders on this entire list, and the fact that it's so popular makes it even more dangerous. This bread can sit in your cupboard for 2 weeks or more without going mouldy. 2 weeks. Real bread goes stale or mouldy within 3 to 4 days maximum. The only way Kingsmill stays soft and fresh for that long is through heavy use use of preservatives like calcium propionate, emulsifiers, and fermented wheat flour. It's a chemical masterpiece designed to last forever, not to nourish you. Your body knows the difference even if your brain doesn't. You know that puffy, indestructible feeling King's Mill has? Like you could squash the entire loaf into a ball and it would just bounce right back? Or how it never really goes bad. It just slowly becomes more rubbery and weird until you finally bin it out of guilt rather than because it's actually moldy. That's not bread, that's an engineered food product shaped like bread. Number 2, Hovis. Over 130 years of baking heritage. The iconic brown bread your grandparents grew up with. The brand that practically invented the idea of proper British bread. Hovis has been a household name for generations, trusted by millions. And that trust is exactly what they're banking on while they fill their loaves with rubbish. Hovis uses the Chorleywood bread process, calcium propionate preservatives, E472E emulsifiers, palm oil, and fermented wheat flour. It's an ultra-processed industrial product dressed up in nostalgic packaging that makes you think you're buying something traditional and wholesome. You're not. You're buying mass-produced bread engineered for profit margins and shelf life, not your health. You know that slightly sweet, almost cake-like taste Hovis has? Like it's not quite bread, but not quite cake either, just somewhere uncomfortably in between. Or how the texture is unnaturally uniform with no character, just processed sameness from first slice to lastest. That's what industrial production does. It removes everything real and replaces it with consistency achieved through chemistry. Number 1, Warburton's. And here we are. The big one. The brand is sitting at the top of nearly every British shopping list. The bread is so popular that 84% of UK households buy it regularly. If there were a Mount Rushmore of British bread, Warburton's would have the biggest face carved into it, which is exactly why it's number 1 on this list. Warburton's contains E282 calcium propionate preservatives, E472E emulsifiers, soya flour, and fermented wheat flour. Every loaf is made using industrial processes designed to maximize production speed and shelf life. The thick slices, the soft texture, the long-lasting freshness, all achieved through chemistry, not quality ingredients. And because it's so popular, millions of people are eating this every single day without knowing what's actually in it. You know that feeling when you eat a Warburton sandwich and an hour later you're hungry again. Like the bread didn't actually fill you up, it just occupied space in your stomach temporarily. Or how it tastes fine but forgettable, like your brain can't even remember what you just ate. That's because ultra-processed bread lacks the nutritional density and complexity your body needs. It's empty calories shaped like food. Now, I'm going to give you as a tip 3 better bread brands you should buy instead. Number 1, Bertinet Bakery. If you want proper artisan bread that's widely available, Bertinet Bakery is your best bet. Founded by master baker Richard Bertinet, this brand uses traditional French baking methods with just 4 ingredients: flour, water, salt, and sourdough starter. Nothing else. You can find their sliced sourdough loaves in Waitrose and Ocado, which means you don't have to hunt down a local bakery to get real bread. The loaves stay fresh without additives because they use revolutionary baking methods that lock in moisture naturally. Yes, they cost more than Warburton's, around £2 to £2.50 for a 500-gram loaf, but you're paying for actual bread made by actual bakers. The texture is perfect, the crust crunches, and it goes stale within 2 to 3 days because that's what real bread does. If it's lasting a fortnight in your cupboard, it's not bread, it's a science experiment. Number 2, Gale's Bakery. Gales has expanded rapidly across England with over 140 stores, and they've recently partnered with Waitrose to get their bread into more supermarkets. This is massive because it means proper neighbourhood bakery quality is now accessible without having to live near a Gales location. They bake fresh every day using natural ingredients and traditional methods. No preservatives, no emulsifiers, no fermented wheat flour loopholes. Their sourdough is genuine, made with a starter culture that's been maintained for years, not manufactured in a lab. The bread has character, with an uneven crumb structure and complex flavour that comes from real fermentation. Number 3, Biona Organic. For those of you who need gluten-free options or want certified organic bread, Biona is the answer. Unlike Genius, which loads gluten-free bread with chemicals and stabilizers, Biona uses clean ingredients like buckwheat, millet, and other whole grains. No unnecessary additives, no artificial anything. You can find Biona in most major supermarkets, including Tesco, Sainsbury's, and Waitrose, which makes it accessible for everyone. Their bread is heavier and denser than the fake fluffy stuff you're used to, but that's because it's made from real grains with real fibre. Well, I know this is a lot to take in. You've been buying these brands for years thinking they were fine. You weren't wrong to trust them. They've spent millions making sure you would, but now you know better. And you know that you don't need to memorize the entire list of bad bread, because once you know what to look for, you can spot bad bread brands yourself in about 10 seconds. First, flip the loaf over and read the ingredients list. Real bread should have 4 to 6 ingredients maximum. Flour, water, salt, yeast or sourdough starter, and maybe a bit of oil or seeds. That's it. If you're seeing a list that goes on for 3 lines with words you can't pronounce, put it back. Here are the red flags to watch for. E282 or calcium propionate. That's a preservative designed to stop mold and extend shelf life. If it's there, the bread is ultra-processed. E472E. That's an emulsifier used to keep bread artificially soft. Real bread doesn't need it. Fermented wheat flour. This is the sneaky one. It sounds natural and harmless, but it's flour treated with bacteria to generate propionic acid, which acts as a preservative. Brands use it to claim no added preservatives while still using preservation methods. Soya flour, often added to improve texture and shelf life, not nutrition. Here's a simple test. If the bread stays soft and fresh for more than 4 days, it's loaded with preservatives. Real bread goes stale quickly. That's not a flaw, that's proof it's real. Also, check how the bread feels. If you can squash it into a ball and it bounces right back like a sponge, that's chemicals, not quality. Real bread has structure and resistance. Learn these ingredients, check every label, and you'll never get tricked again. Yes, these good bread brands may be more expensive than mass-produced brands, but you're getting bread that nourishes you, not just fills space in your stomach. So what do you think? Have you been eating any of these without knowing what was inside? Drop a comment below. And if this opened your eyes, share it. Send it to anyone still grabbing Warburtons or Hovies every week without thinking twice. They need to see this.